One thing you've probably heard me say over the years on Weekly 50 is something to the effect of we don't get a lot of snow here in Oklahoma. And this winter is kind of I was going to say no exception, but it's kind of the same thing. We don't get a lot of snow. We've had a lot of days in the 50s, 40s, but there was one day recently where we got, I was going to say a lot of snow, a decent amount of snow for Oklahoma. We got about 3 to 4 inches in one day, which is pretty unusual. And there have been times where my first instinct on a day like that is to go outside, take my camera, and get some pictures. And I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it this time. Maybe it was the cold, maybe it was that it was dark for a lot of it. But I think really I just wanted to be outside with my kids rather than with my camera. And I know that the cold was part of it too. It's not fun for me to take photos when my hands are super cold. But a couple days later, after a lot of the snow had melted and after the initial snowfall had, like, the excitement had kind of worn off, I went to Theta Pond on the OSU campus, and there was still evidence of the snow. The pond was still frozen in some places, and I saw this magnolia leaf resting not on the water necessarily, but on the ice, which I guess, yeah, it's water. And it was kind of a cool opportunity for a photo. I like the light and shadow. So as you're looking at this on the left-hand side, you can see part of this giant leaf is covered in light as the sun is poking through from behind the tree, and the other side is covered in shadow. And that was just luck. I didn't compose this photo at all. I actually had to kind of step out on a giant rock and put my camera so low it was almost on the ice. I didn't want it on the ice because the water at Theta Pond is not great. So I didn't want to get whatever's in the Theta Pond water on my camera. But I held my camera down, used live view to focus on the left-hand edge, the edge of that leaf, and took the photo that you see here. It was a fun photo to get. I couldn't control a lot. I couldn't really control the angle from which, like the left or right angle from which I took this, because there was really only one spot to stand on for to get this photo. But I like what I got. I think what I was able to do, though, is see a photo opportunity. And I don't always see those. Like I'm not always the greatest at looking around and looking for photos that, or something that could be a photo. Like this is something that I could have easily just walked on by. But instead, I had my eyes open and my camera in hand, and I was looking for the photo opportunity. And I found it. I also shot this at a pretty wide aperture, which I usually don't do with my macro lens. This is f3, and that it's still pretty sharp on the macro lens. If you click on the photo, and so if you're on YouTube, you click on the link below the photo to go to my blog, and then from there, click on the photo and go to Flickr. You can see the full size, full resolution. It's pretty sharp. I think a slightly smaller aperture like f4 or f5, something smaller would have been a little sharper, but I really like the depth of field here too. So this is a really fun photo to take, and it's a photo opportunity we just don't get here in Oklahoma that often.